We created our game Inevitable in 4 days for the GMTK Game Jam, and here's how we did it. Once we learned the theme was Countdown, I met with Nathan, Charlie, and Don to brainstorm some ideas. We played around with some ideas such as a WarioWare minigame style game, a buckshot roulette timer countdown, and even stuff with rockets taking off, but we ended up settling on an arena fighter concept. Our main priority was to keep a small scope since our last jam was unfortunately way overscoped and we didn't end up finishing the project to the completeness we would have liked. This smaller scope enabled us to focus on polishing the MVP, and I even was able to use Fmod for the sound design. Eventually, we settled on the idea of taking down targets in the correct order to increase your time. With our idea locked in, the goal of the first day was to get the MVP together. We started by creating the player controller and a small arena scene, as well as modeling a rough bow and creating some animations for them. Then we added arrow physics and the timer. Don drew up some textures for our targets, and we were able to make a pretty cool looking target that always follows the player, so it looks almost 2D. By the end of the day, we were able to move, jump, and shoot targets that were spawning around our screen. Our MVP was basically complete. On our second day, I had a long shift at work, so I personally didn't get a lot done on the project, but Nathan made a lot of progress with the shaders and models for the game. I did have enough time to implement them into the game, and I added shields for the targets. On the third day, I finished the progression system and UI for the progress bar and crosshair. Then, I worked closely with Charlie on a sound pass for the game, so I can get some sound effects and music into the game using Fmod. We added the level music and sound effects for things like hitting targets, charging the bow, and arrows hitting the ground. Then, we hit the final day. With 12 hours left, Charlie and I went through and added any missing sound effects. I also had this idea to implement a leaderboard. It was something that I had never done before, but it made a great addition to the game. Afterwards, I sent it out to some friends to playtest and spot bugs, and we found a few funny ones. With the feedback I received, I added a tutorial to the game and ensured the builds were good for submission. Alright, with the game done, time to hit submit, and it's 5 AM. I'm gonna go to sleep.